tell me a little bit about your involvement, the Chamber's involvement with transportation, and really trying to create a more robust transportation system connecting us to Raleigh and to other places. I know that you in particular, worked on that specific when Department of Motor Vehicles was moving to Rocky Mount in response to some issues, but there's a lot more to that. And I think I'd like to have some discussion because I just feel like it creates a lot of opportunities for us. And so just share, you've been so involved in that and have so much more detail. I'd love for you to at least share that with me.
First of all, Mayor, thank you for having me. And I want to take this opportunity on behalf of myself, my family, the Chamber, and the thousands of team members that our over 700 businesses have involved in their operations, and congratulating you for your upcoming award on Distinguished Citizen of the Year presented by the Boy Scouts.
Well, thank you very much for that. I tell you, it was quite a surprise, something that was unexpected, and I'm just delighted to be considered. So thank you for being part of that, and thank the Chamber.
Well, it's well deserved, and it's just one way, one small, simple way that we can show as a community our deep appreciation, not only for your willingness to serve as mayor of Rocky Mount, but all you're doing not only in Rocky Mount, the Twin Counties, but throughout the state. And that has such an impact. And we're not only proud of you, but we're so appreciative and grateful for your involvement in our community.
Well, thank you. It's been an absolute privilege, and it's something I've enjoyed immensely, without question. And I think we ought to talk about the Boy Scouts of America. They've gotten kind of on the chin here in recent years. And, any organization that's 100 plus years old, really they've taken some hits. But the reality is, I think the organization as a whole is still doing a great job for our children, for our kids, in developing leadership. And I believe that we have a lot of great volunteers that, unfortunately, I think have gotten a little bit of a black eye. So, one of the things that I think is important is that we, talk about that a little bit. And I'm grateful the Boy Scouts that are around. I'm grateful for the organization and appreciative of that particular award.
Sandy, you made a good point. Did some issues that should have been addressed earlier.
No doubt.
No. And they have paid that price dearly. But in the reality of it, the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts are probably needed more today than perhaps when you and I were growing up. Kids are in a different environment. They're not outside as much. Parents are working 2 jobs, often more than that. And this builds, and then you have single parent homes. And if it's a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, the camps, the camaraderie, the knowledge that they gain is, I really think, more critical today in 2021 than it was 50 years ago or 100 years ago. I really do believe that. But getting back to your question on transportation, when the DMV first when it was voted on to come to Rocky Mount, which today I was having lunch with the commissioner of DMV. Transportation was an issue. It was a concern with our employees. Well, we looked at that and then kind of expanded on that opportunity and thought, okay, this isn't just about DMV, although it's the engine that's driving it.
Right.
We have companies, manufacturing companies like Cummins, Pfizer, all of the Whitaker Business Park, Honeywell, Corning, others that are coming online in the Kingsborough site. We have a lot of people outside of Rocky Mount that are in the Triangle that drive here every day. We have an awful lot of people in Rocky Mount that go to the Triangle for different job opportunities. And perhaps one way to reduce the traffic, make it more appealing for people coming into Rocky Mount that are commuting or going out, is some sort of transportation system. So we began pre-COVID working with Go Triangle. The Go Triangle, like everybody else now, is facing labor shortages. So we have gotten Robert Hyatt and the COG, Eastern North Carolina Council of Government,
Right.
involved in it. And Robert has a rich history in doing projects like this from Georgia. And he has been provided just a wealth of knowledge and knows how to lay this out. So we want to involve Tar River Transit as a pickup once it comes into to Rocky Mount, and then they move it out to the businesses, and also going out the same way. So we'll have like park and ride points. One could be downtown at our bus station where it's picked up, or out at the athletic complex across from DMV, or several others. But we're working on smaller, more efficient modes of transportation going in, coming out, and moving around. And as it progresses and grows, and we will grow with it.
Sure.
We just think it makes all the sense in the world to have that option. These would be transportation units, buses that are Wi-Fi, so you can read or you can work online going and coming. And, think about it. 45 minutes instead of worrying about the traffic, you're relaxed, you're drinking a cup of coffee, you're Wi-Fi connected so you can work.
And I've had the chance to be a part of some of those conversations, and just the relative acceptance, actually excitement really about the project, both from the folks in the Triangle as well as here. And I certainly see that opening up a lot of opportunities for folks who live here in Rocky Mount if we can get this thing off the ground. But I want to point that out, that really the Chamber does so much more than just what you think the Chamber does. And that's just another example of how we have to begin thinking really even regionally as things go on. How do we tie to the growth engine that's closest to us? In that particular case, I think it's Raleigh. And I love public transportation. I choose to take the train if I can, because I can work, I can sleep, I can get a lot done. I don't have to worry about it. A bus would do the same thing for me. And
Oh my gosh, yes.
historically, I'm one of those guys back and forth to Raleigh probably 2-3 times a week. That's not unusual. So anyway, so tell us a little bit about, we're back on third base, so that's exciting. We're still working on some funding sources. So anybody out there knows some, we'll take all the money we can get.
Take all the money we can get. It's going to take a lot. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be beneficial for Rocky Mount and the Twin County areas.
No doubt about it.
And the Triangle.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And so tell me a little bit about the Chamber. What's going on there? There's always, you send out an e-letter. I can't possibly read it all. There's so much information contained in it. But kind of what's going on here recently?
We've been busy. This year has been, in some ways, a lot easier than 2020. In some ways, a lot harder.
Right.
With the unexpected COVID that we experienced in 20, and never thought it would go through the year, and it did.
Right.
And then just as it seemed like we were finally coming out in the summer, Delta decided to come to the party.
Right.
And when she came, it hit hard, it hit fast. And now we seem to be moving out. We were able to have our first and currently our only, but not our last in-person event this year.
Good.
And it was really great. People were energized. It was our small business celebration.
Right.
We have had a couple of chamber after hours. Our board meetings are resuming in person now. We will have I'm really excited, we'll have our annual economic forum, which is
I'm looking for that's one of my
PNC.
favorite things you do every year, and I missed it last year.
Well, we did it virtually,
Yeah,
but
it's not the
just
same
not
to
the
me.
same.
Yeah.
Well, this year we're moving it to the Dunn Center,
Okay.
and it will be on the first Thursday in December. It'll
Okay.
be a breakfast as usual. Kenneth Hunter with the city has put together a great panel. We will have a representative from the Federal Reserve out of Charlotte as
Okay.
one of our guest speakers. And of course, PNC sponsors us, and their chief economist will be here. Chris Chang will be here. Rochelle Small-Toney will be giving an oversight of the city. We know we can count on Norris Tolson and Andy Hagley on the local economic thing.
Sure.
We did have to reschedule, as you know, our Women's Leadership Conference.
I do know, yeah.
But we rescheduled it for March 24th, and the blessing of it all, when we had to make that decision because of Delta, our three key speakers, primary speakers, including Elizabeth Hudson, who's the editor of Our State,
Right.
all agreed to move. All three of our panels agreed on that date. And think I would have bet the farm on that.
You know, that's amazing that you get three people to
is.
agree on a date that far in advance, but that's going to be exciting and really some heavy duty players and,
They are.
and hopefully inspirational to a lot of folks.
It is, and that's been something we've enjoyed doing over the past several years.
Sure.
We're really pleased, and of course, this year we will finally be able to have it at the event center.
Right.
So we'll have some vendors there as well, breakout rooms. That just gives us so much more flexibility, and also room to continue to grow the attendance each year.
Sure.
We've not.
Well, and let's
had
just
that
talk
luxury.
about that a little bit, because MWBE is certainly a focus for the city.
Right.
And I think it's certainly a focus for us in our community. We are 67, 68% majority minority city. And most growth occurs, with new jobs and small businesses.
Right.
And so how do you engage a workforce that's primarily female? How do you get folks to take the risk to jump out there and start up a new business? Because I do think that's something that we need to focus on, not only from call it an equity standpoint, but just from a regeneration of our economic situation here in Rocky Mountain, where we have a fairly low median household income. And that's just one way I see that we could probably improve it. So, I mean, what are you seeing out there in terms of that? I know there's some classes. I know that you engage with people, but I think that's something you probably ought to talk about.
Thank you for bringing that up. We started, I think our anniversary actually is now October, but we started working on this as a result of the Black Lives Matter movement, not political,
No, I
but
understand.
just, the equity and challenges. And we
The
realized,
awareness that was created
Right.
in the spring through some unfavorable events, but nonetheless, it did raise awareness.
It did. And through that awareness, we took a step back and we spoke to some of the leadership in the Black community primarily and said, what, other than raising our hand and saying, we support Black Lives Matter, now let's move on to this project.
Right.
We wanted to do something long-term, and I do mean long-term. So we created a Minority Business Development Committee. Dr. Haywood Parker chairs that for us. He's on our executive committee.
He's an outstanding fellow. I know
don't
that
make
you
him any
enjoy
better.
working with him.
Absolutely. Known him and worked with him for years, and there's no finer.
Sure.
No one finer. But anyway, we wanted to really get in and get to what we hope to find as a great place to start. And we have moved around, and there are a couple of initiatives that we're very intent on, and one of them is daycare. It's a great opportunity for minority businesses. We just had an opening on Ma Puddin's, and I'm going to guess there's probably $750,000 invested in that property
Wow.
and in the facility.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Well, that's amazing. It's needed because, the number one reason people can't get to work is usually childcare. Number two is transportation. So,
Right.
but keep going. I don't mean
And
to step on your
we're
story
working
here.
on both of those.
Yeah, right.
And small opportunities primarily for minority, and that's not just a Black individual, it's all people of color. It's females.
Sure.
And it's needed. And if we've got, as you pointed out earlier, 67% of our population is minority.
It is.
Well, they live under the average income level of our state. That doesn't help anybody.
No.
And it's frankly way beyond time to create resources and pathways. And so this committee is doing that. And like I said, one of our major endeavors is childcare, because if it's a single parent or a couple, and they can't get daycare that's affordable,
Sure.
we want to work with the state and businesses to help maybe ease that burden. Maybe we have some state or government assistance,
Sure.
corporate assistance, and the individual.
Sure.
And the children then can be taken care of. They can't leave an 8-year-old to look after a 5-year-old to look after a 3-year-old.
And I don't have any specific statistics on that. I don't know if you have any kind of feel for what that real need it looks like within the city, but it's got to be, it feels like it's great.
It is great, and it is not just the federal assistance that was holding people back from going to work. It's transportation.
That's right.
And it's daycare.
That's right.
And
That's right.
these people, by and large, want to work. But even if you're working at home, and I saw there was an article in Wall Street about 2 weeks ago
Okay.
that said that businesses that have allowed their staff to work remotely, and the staff wants to work remote, they're going to say, fine, but your children have to be out of the house in daycare.
How about that?
And, you know, they're going to be requirements. You're going to be.
You know, I'm laughing inside because I don't know how many Zoom calls I've been on and the kids been in the background.
Right. Dogs, pets, cats.
All that, right.
Kids.
So, and it makes perfect sense that you need to remove that distraction. But anyway, wow, I hadn't thought about that.
So that's going to be a challenge. And then some we're doing a lot of advanced manufacturing here.
Right.
And logistics is going to be a big part of it. Well, you can't do that at home.
No, you can't.
There's some things you can, but still that daycare component is going to hold people back regardless of, unemployment assistance, whether it stays, it goes, it comes back, or there's a blend of it.
Right.
That's the issue, the biggest challenge, transportation and daycare.
That's it.
And that's what we're attacking it for all we work.
Well, I'm excited about that. So I can't wait to hear about a number of these classes when you finally get them rolled out, because I think that'll be an asset for our community. And I think it's something that the folks need to plug into because, knowledge is power. And if you've not really been exposed to that entrepreneurial thought process, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to connect to and understand just small things, maintenance of the books, budgeting, things that banks want to see to make you bankable. And small things, but make a big difference whether you succeed or not. And so you probably know this better than me, but what is the statistic? Small businesses that start, failure rates like 80% in the first year, and I can't remember, but it's
restaurants are close to 90%. And
Yeah.
everybody says, oh, you're a great cook, open it and you can do this. And that's fine if I can cook.
Yeah.
But if I don't understand the purchasing, the back room side of it, and that old saying of, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
There's a lot of truth in developing incubators and developing processes where people can come in and hands-on learn.
Sure.
And also begin to grow their own businesses can make a tremendous difference in their lives, the lives of their employees, and also the lifestyle of our community. Take Prime Smokehouse. What an amazing restaurant it was on East Thomas Street.
That's right.
What an amazing restaurant it is in the meal. Well, that's only benefited Ed and Yalom and their team, certainly.
Right.
But what's it done for all of our citizens that like to go out and have a good meal or take friends?
Well, and don't forget the impact of restaurants of that quality and nature, the draw that it has for the community as a whole. I mean, people will often drive, to go to a new eating experience.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite guys is on PBS, and he tries out barbecue, and he rates it by the number of miles he's willing to drive outside of his way.
That's a great way
go
to do
eat.
it.
And to tell the truth, I'm willing to go 50 miles for that. It's so good, or I'm willing to go 10 miles. And so, I think that this helped all of us from that standpoint.
Well, it does, and it also, Chipotle has announced they're coming to Rocky
I saw
Mountain.
that today.
And that's great, but it also, the awareness that these other restaurants create, that ties in with recruiting businesses, or like our 2 announcements today on 2 businesses, industries that were expanding in Rocky Mountain. All that plays into it, and they look at it, and as the lifestyle of our citizens improves, and the money that they have, disposable income increases, we get more quality groups coming in here, be it restaurants or someone willing to take a chance.
That's right. It's all about that median household income. I mean, that's
is.
the number that drives it. And to the extent that we can create success for everybody, the more successful we'll all be. So I'll go ahead.
And, you know, something else with the income rising and disposable income improving and the property value rising, the city as such doesn't have to continue to increase the tax rate because the money is coming in to support the needed infrastructure and growth. And I want to commend you and the city. Whenever we've had projects, or Carolina's Gateway's had projects that needed assistance or variances or tax relief for a period of time, you know, council may sometimes air its laundry, but doggone it, I don't know of a single time that they've said no.
I don't either. Not a single time.
When the rubber meets the road,
and there's never been any
the first
discussion
ones to
about it.
raise their hand and say, absolutely.
And no discussion about it.
No.
Yep, it makes sense. We all want that. We need it. We need it to continue to grow. And you're absolutely right about that. There's absolute 100% harmony in those moments, and has been. And, you know, of course, it helps to have folks like you, Alan Matthews, Norris Tolson, and his organization. I mean, when you've got that team and you know that you have confidence in what the projects are that we're trying to pitch and how to build it, it makes it a lot easier to say yes to as well. I mean, there's no question that there are quality projects on the table.
Well, we couldn't do the job
Right.
and make the progress that we made over the last 5 or 6 years without the city and the counties of Nash and Edgecombe supporting us.
Agreed. No, and everybody has done well to make that happen.
My goodness, yes. And I know I speak for Norris and I know I speak for Andy.
Right.
And Alan, when I say thank you and thank the city and the two county governments for always being there for us.
And I saw the county got an honorable mention in North Carolina Business Review.
Yes, it did. It was
and I
great.
thought that was great. Providence Bank got a little honorable mention too for being such a great organization and increasing their profitability. So a lot of good things are happening here.
Well, you know, you touched on banking, and I hate to use names because you always leave something off. United Bank came in here last year, and they're making such a big impact. They bring a different spin. They're doing a great job. This is Southern Bank's largest footprint. We have just about every asset Southern has short of the boardroom.
You know, and I appreciate their locating downtown.
Absolutely.
Spend a tremendous amount of money to make that happen.
And
Really.
PNC still has close to 600 employees here.
Is that right?
They look after us. They're great partners with the chamber. They are great partners throughout the community, as our other banks are. And we now have kind of the old saying, everything new, old is new again, goes back to what some people refer to as the glory days.
Right.
And you had People's Bank, and you're in that very building.
That's right. That's right.
And we had Planters Bank.
That's right.
That are part of PNC, but those two banks now then really helped our community greatly.
Right.
Well, we have two pure local banks with First Carolina and Providence that are both growing in leaps and bounds like Peoples and Planters did.
Absolutely.
And good things are coming. They're such vital parts of our community. And, you know, our credit unions here, state employees and Coastal Federal and others do a great job in self-help. But we have those pieces that we had back in the 60s, early 70s, or throughout the 70s into the early 80s.
Sure.
And we're there, Sandy.
Right.
We are there.
Oh, I see it. I see it as well. I mean, lots of positive things. I am encouraged, all the number of projects I see. So what are you hearing from your membership group in terms of, you know, what could be better, what would enhance their ability to make more money or enhance their ability to grow their businesses that either the city can provide, the state, or
I think
others?
developing our workforce, and really a lot of it is in that training and in transportation. I think we do need to look locally and how to move people from their homes to the workplace. We also need, again, we touched on incubators. With a lot of entrepreneurs that we're beginning to see through our project, and others that are throughout the community, we need incubators. They need to have space to develop,
Right.
to grow, And then
I know we have some incubators. One is on off 301. Joe's startup, I believe, is kind of
It is.
ceased, didn't it? With
It did.
Springboard.
It did.
But so where are we on that? What is our inventory, and how do we
The
enhance
potential
that?
inventory is great. The reality of it is, and this is a project, as you know, the city's chasing.
Right.
But if we could get just downtown space for people to come in and develop food products,
Right.
Food manufacturing, and they can learn how to do it. It's one thing to have the idea. It's another to really be schooled in it.
Sure.
I'm reading a book now that Dr. Gina Node at Wesleyan gave me. It's easy reading, and it's called Who Owns the Ice House? And
Okay.
it really is a complicated but simplistic walk through how you get where you end up being. And it's a marvelous book.
Right. Okay. How far along are you in the book?
I'm 2/3 of the way through.
Okay, so we'll bring you back for your book report maybe next
I
week.
will. I will. But it also talks about in that book how the gentleman taught his grandson through example, through long conversations, through work ethics.
Right.
And in one way, it was a bigger challenge then than it is now. But they had the resources, not financially, but the resources from the internal drive
Right.
that I want to do this. And I think downtown is a perfect lab for us, if you will. And I'm so pleased, and that's one thing our membership says, we need a vital downtown. It's been slow coming, but I do think we're really on track to stay right now.
Right. Well, I'm interested to see how the projects that Troy Davis has done, Ben Braddock and Nazir Dukes, the apartments have rolled out, how quickly they're absorbed into the marketplace. And I'm hopeful that it's very quickly, because I think that is the key component that you have to have. People walking around, you have to have that circulation of consumers before businesses can really thrive. So we're kind of running out of time. Anything else that maybe we ought to talk about before we go?
Let me just touch again on those two things you did.
Sure.
You know, when Ben and his partners bought Station Square, it was in need.
That's a
It
nice
is
way to say it.
completely occupied. It's a hub of activity day and night.
Right.
And what Troy has done with his buildings is really what you want. They're first class, top to bottom, literally.
Right.
And others coming along like that. And if we can get 500 to 800 people living downtown,
Oh, that's a game changer.
game changes.
Sure it is. Well, David, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Steve.
Appreciate all you're
Appreciate
doing for the chamber and for the city of Rocky Mount, and it was a joy to talk to you as always.
Always a joy to be here. And again, we're grateful for what you do as an individual, your companies do, and what the city of Rocky Mount does for us all. Thank you.